One of the great pioneers for the sport of football, an innovator for the sport of football and all of college football, all of football, not just college football, but all of football, Mike Leach has passed away. I know it's been all over the news, but we're going to pay tribute to an innovator in Mike Leach. That's a whole lot more at your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into it. It's your Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Kane. So glad to have you guys with me here today. As always, I appreciate it. Hey, we're making that push to 6,000 subscribers. 6K by December 25th. 6K by Christmas Day. How about that? Please go ahead and subscribe and like, thumbs up this video. All that stuff helps with the algorithms. Appreciate you guys for being here with us. Locked On Vols, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That is your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Omaha Steaks. It's a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com this Christmas season. Use promo code LOCKEDON. That's at checkout. Get an extra $30 off your entire order. We're going to discuss Mike Leach, his impact on the sport of football. We're going to mourn the loss of Mississippi head football coach Mike Leach here in segment number 1. Josh Ward in segment 2. VFL Ron Slay talking a little Vols hoops in segment number 3. I know you've seen it everywhere. It's been all over TV. It's been all over social media. It's and rightfully so. What Mike Leach is meant to the sports world, to college football. You've seen a lot of it. But obviously, when you wake up and you go throughout your morning, and then you start seeing the reports roll in that he has passed away, it's still kind of shocking. There was reports Sunday afternoon that he had been airlifted to Jackson Hospital, that he suffered some type of medical episode at his house, and then you kept hearing rumors and rumors and rumors swirling throughout Sunday night into Monday, and then you got some reports of essentially he was on hospice care inside Jackson Hospital by some point Monday afternoon. Again, you just his personality, man, you just continue to think he was going to fight and fight, which he did. He fought and fought and fought. But it kind of smacks you in the face when you saw the reports coming out Monday morning that he has passed away. 61 years old. Mike Leach passes away due to complications to a heart condition. It's tragic. My heart, my thoughts, my prayers, my sympathies, all that for his wife Sharon, all that for his family, his kids, his grandkids, his sisters, his brothers, his football players, the Mississippi State community, his former players, his former coaches, the commits who are committed, ready to roll in and sign next week with Mississippi State. Man, my heart's and my thoughts and prayers are with all those people. I mean, it's truly. Could you imagine being a player inside that program or a commit, ready to join that program next week, and this happens? It's truly heartbreaking. But from the relationships and everything that Mike Leach stood for, that's how he will be remembered. The Pirates, goofy personality. He was truly one of the greatest personalities in all of sports, one of the greatest personalities certainly in college sports. There was truly nobody else like Mike Leach. Two-time National Coach of the Year, a three-time Conference Coach of the Year. He is known for innovating and changing the way offense was played. The air raid offense. With Hal Mumme and stops at Iowa Western, Valdosta State, and Kentucky, those two worked together implementing and constructing and evolving the air raid offense. That so many different teams, so many different leagues, so many different programs, not just in college, a little bit of the NFL, a little bit, high school. I mean, air raid offense, that was Mike Leach. I mean, truly changed the way the game was played. Not many people, you can't say that about hardly anybody in respect to a sport or in respect to, just whatever you're talking about. Someone that truly changed the way that something was done, and now it's done entirely different for some teams and programs. That's Mike Leach. It's 21 years as a head football coach. course, he was at Texas Tech from 2000 to 2009. He was at Washington State from 2012 to 2019. Mississippi State the last 3 seasons, 2020, 2021, and of course this past season, 2022. 21 years as a head football coach, 158 and 107 the record. 158 107 the record all time. Led his teams to 19 bowl games in 21 seasons. As a head football coach, he led them to 19 bowl games. It's pretty incredible. You just go look at, just pull up his coaching tree and, wins and all that. Just looking and seeing how many wins and losses that he had. 7 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, 11 wins, 8 wins. That was his Texas Tech tenure. Washington State, 3 wins, 6 wins, 3. And by the way, Washington State is probably that and Starkville, Mississippi, might be the 2 toughest places to coach college football. Truly is. You have no resources, okay? You have no history. That's the toughest place to coach football in America, likely. Washington State, 3 wins, 6 wins, 3 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, 11 wins, 6 wins. Mississippi State, 4 wins in the COVID-shortened season, 7 wins, 8 wins. Takes down Lane Kiffin in the Egg Bowl in his final game that he ever coaches. I mean, man, what a legacy. What an absolute legacy. And there's a tie in there with Tennessee and Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel came out and, he was at Snow College. And Mike Leach, formerly the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, found him, brought him to Oklahoma. And as a junior that season, first year with Mike Leach, threw for 2,308 yards and 28 touchdowns. Actually, in 1999, I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong line there. In 1999, Heupel threw for 3,460 yards and 30 touchdowns in Leach's offense. He threw for 3,606 yards and 20 touchdowns a year later, leading the Sooners to a national championship, a Big 12 championship, and a second-place finish in the Heisman voting. So there's a connection there with Mike Leach to Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel put out a statement early on Tuesday morning, quote, "I am heartbroken on the passing of Coach Leach. In 1999, he gave a kid out of Snow College in Utah a shot at major college football. He saw something in me when no one else did. Like so many across our sport, I am grateful for Coach Leach's impact on my life, personally and professionally. His offensive philosophy and vision were ahead of his time, and they continue to shape the game today. Off the field, he was one of a kind, an incredible storyteller, a man full of wisdom, and someone who always cared about his former players and coaches. I enjoyed our friendship over the years. My deepest condolences to go out to Coach Leach's family, his wife Sharon, his kids, grandkids, the entire Mississippi State football program." That was Josh Heupel on the passing of Mike Leach. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey put out a statement as well. Quote, "The life of Mike Leach touched thousands upon thousands of people throughout his coaching, leadership, teaching, and insightful commentary. We will miss Mike. Every conversation with Mike made you think. His humor, depth, and point of view continually challenged all of us to think differently and to reevaluate our perspectives. His innovative approach to the game contributed to the evolution of college football. We mourn the untimely passing as we offer our support to Mike's wife, Sharon, their children and their grandchildren, along with current and former players, coaching colleagues, and the Mississippi State community." It's crazy, guys. I mean, I'm not sitting here. I mean, I'm not going to pretend and say, I was a Mike Leach guy. I was a huge Mike Leach fan. I mean, I knew he was an innovator. I knew that he was wacky. He had a crazy personality. I laughed at his jokes a lot of the times. But often I thought that, I thought it got old kind of. I've said many, many times that I'm glad that he wasn't the head coach here at Tennessee, because it'd be a ride. It'd be fun. Don't get me wrong. But when you lost, it would be kind of annoying in those press conferences. But still, the guy, you've seen so many different stories and firsthand accounts of people giving their testimonies and their experiences with Mike Leach. Always there to talk with literally anybody. And you're going to hear one in a moment. In segment 2, we're going to catch up with Josh Ward. He's gonna give one as well. Just incredible, a unique person, super smart. By the way, this is one of my favorite things about Mike Leach. My background, how I got into this industry, I began as a sports information director at Carson Newman when I got done playing, and I was still in school getting my master's. So I was in the athletic department working as an SID for some sports there, and I know what that side of it's like. I love being on this side. I love being a personality, talking in a microphone, praising, critiquing, giving my opinions. This is my style. But I respect the other side of it, the Sean Barrows, the Bill Martins over at UT, the SIDs, the Max Potters, the Tom Satkowiaks. They do a great job. I've come from that. Mike Leach was an SID, I believe, when he was in one of his stops. It might have been Valdosta, maybe it was Iowa Wesleyan. He was his own SID, which is incredible. I love that. Mike Leach, major college football coach, has a Bachelor of Arts degree. Okay, has a doctorate degree, a graduate level doctorate degree, and he also has a Master's of Science degree. Why? The dude coaches football, but he challenged himself. He wanted to be a critical thinker. He wanted to challenge his players and those around him and his colleagues, his family members, his coaches, his players, his family, everybody. Wanted to challenge him to think outside of the box and be unique. Man, what a smart guy. Again, innovator, pioneer, changed the way football was played. College football is going to be different without Mike Leach. It's going to be different. I covered Tennessee. I grew up in East Tennessee. I mean, I've really had no affiliation with any Mike Leach coach teams. Respected the heck out of him. Thought he was funny. Thought he was charismatic. Someone sent me a video of him when he was at Washington State, and the reporter asked him, "Hey, I'm getting married this weekend, or I'm getting married in 10 days or whatever. Do you have any advice for me?" And the clip was like 4 minutes long. I tweeted it out. You can find it at _Caner. It's like 4 minutes long, talking about just giving advice and being funny. And I mean, if you ask any other coach that, I mean, they might say, "Well, congratulations." I'm not going to take the time and, just do all that. It's just, I don't know. That's just one example. Mike Leach, one of a kind, gone way too soon at the age of 61 due to complications due to a heart condition. Again, here on Locked On Vols, thoughts, prayers, good vibes to those players, the community in Mississippi State, the commits on the way, the coaches, every player he's coached, and of course the family and the wife, Sharon Leach. That's just tragic. Can't believe it. Again, it's still kind of shocking. So wanted to take this time and give my thoughts and kind of give my accounts of this situation. I know you've got it from everywhere else, but I wanted to take the time to do that because Mike Leach deserves it. He truly, truly deserves it. All right, coming up next year on Locked On Vols, we will have Josh Ward to join the show, and I can't wait to hear from Josh Ward. He'll tell his Mike Leach stories. They're pretty good, I promise you that. And then we'll get into VFL Ron Slay coming up in segment number 3 of the show. Hey, but first I want to remind you guys about Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks have put together a delicious selection of various gift packages to make shopping for the ones you love nice and easy. Go to omahasteaks.com and take advantage of 50% off site-wide. Plus, you can use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get an additional $40 off your order. So, again, 50% off site-wide. Promo code LOCKEDON. You're going to get an additional $40 off your order. I've told you guys this. I made my Christmas shopping so easy last Christmas for all the dudes in my life, my dad, my grandfather, my soon-to-be father-in-law, my soon-to-be stepfather-in-law. I knocked it all out. I just, burgers, steaks, fish, salmon, whatever you want. They've got a great selection there. Come on, guys. Don't make it harder than what it is. Take advantage of this. Again, $50% off site-wide. Plus, with the promo code LOCKEDON, $40 off your order. That's at omahasteaks.com. omahasteaks.com. Minimum order may be required. It's Wednesday, and there's a lot going on around the world of Tennessee sports, Tennessee football, Tennessee basketball, college sports as well. So let's go ahead and bring on Josh Ward for a little Ward Wednesday. Josh, from the top here, I mean, this isn't necessarily Tennessee related, but this is, it's a human story. It's a sports story, and it's a sad story. Mike Leach passes away. It was announced on Tuesday, or I guess it was announced. Yeah, it was announced on Tuesday where he passed away earlier on Monday from complications from a heart condition. Man, that's tragic news that, anyone dies from that. But obviously Mike Leach, who he was, what he's meant to college football, it's kind of taken the whole sports world by storm here.
It is a tremendous loss. And the impact from Mike Leach is felt in many different ways. You can limit it to football if you want to, and it won't be. But his impact on the game of football, and there actually is a Tennessee connection there. Part of Josh Heupel's development as a quarterback and then understanding of the game to now be a head coach and run what he does is impacted by what he learned playing for Mike Leach at Oklahoma. And there are a lot of coaches who have seen what Mike Leach was doing, Mike Leach, Hal Mummy, and have implemented some of what he's done. And the game has changed and evolved partly because of what Mike Leach has done. And I say partly, some people would say largely because of what Mike Leach has done. So there's a tremendous football impact, but also he has affected so many people, players that he's coached, coaches who have gone through the ranks. Again, Heupel's on that list that have grown within the game, having learned something from Mike Leach. And then there is the personality. And we think about the interest in Pirates and Geronimo and all different things. He remained curious is one of the words that you're going to hear used a lot or see when you read stories about Mike Leach. And I recommend you take time to read stories. There are great stories out there from interaction. And I think everybody has one. I told you I have one. It's a brief story, but Mike Leach came on the 12 to 3 show I was doing with Will West more than a decade ago. He was in between coaching at Texas Tech and Washington State, and he was a great guest, came on, was personable. I don't know Mike Leach. We'd only spoken a couple of times. And actually, I was calling him to set up a time for the interview, and he either called me back or answered while he was in the restroom. He was in a public restroom and told me, hey, I'm in the restroom just washing up. And he had just called me back. And there are multitasking stories of Mike Leach. But he just told me that and spoke to me like we knew each other well. And then, it was great in conversation. It was great as a guest. And he was unique. He thought differently, but he thought out of curiosity. And he did not go with the norm. That applied to both football, and he was successful because of it. But his life was unique compared to a lot of people because of the way that he thought. And I think we can all learn something from that.
Yeah, Josh, if you called me from the bathroom, I'd probably hang up on you. And you and I mean, we're like brothers. So that is so funny.
And it was so. But the way that he told me, he said it as I mentioned, so matter of factly, and as if he knew me really well. And then we just continued on with the conversation. But I think anybody that's been around Mike Leach has a story that's similar in terms of the way that he acted. There was a story that I don't recall which writer was sharing, but where he had a long conversation on the phone. And at the end of the phone conversation, the person that was with him that was sharing the story asked, who was that? And Mike Leach responded, oh, they had the wrong number. He ended up having a long conversation with somebody that didn't even intend to call him. This is Mike Leach, head coach of Washington State, Mississippi State, his final stop, Texas Tech. He's a big-time Power 5 coach, and he's talking to anybody like it's somebody that he's known for a long time, even if he won't actually ever meet them. So I was a big Mike Leach fan. He almost became Tennessee's football coach before the 2018 season. So there's so many different connections that he made in the football world. He's far too young. Obviously, the tragic loss to his family and so many people that were close to him. I'm not, close to him at all. And a lot of people that are sharing stories were not. A lot of people were, and they're feeling tremendous loss right now.
It's pretty amazing to go and read the different personal accounts and stories that we've seen on social media the past, day or so. Truly larger than life, that being Mike Leach. I like to make fun of him on the radio. I didn't like everything he said, but at the end of the day, he was a good
he wasn't
coach.
always right in everything that he said. None of us are, by the way. I'm not in everything that I say, and I try to keep that in mind. But I will tell you that selfishly, I was excited about the idea of him becoming Tennessee's football coach because I thought from a football standpoint, Tennessee was going to be interesting. This is before Tennessee ends up hiring Jeremy Pruitt, and we don't have to relive everything that happened at that time. But I was selfishly excited about the idea of covering a unique personality that's different from what we've seen in the world of college football that was filled with so much coach speak. And the football, how much would he have won at Tennessee? I don't know. And he even expressed afterward, considering everything that was going on, it kind of worked out for him to not end up at Tennessee. But I was very excited at the time for him to come to Knoxville just to see how that would have played out. And I'm so sad, as so many people are, about the loss of Mike Leach.
Larger than life, that is for sure one of my favorite things about Mike Leach. He in one of his earlier stops, way long time ago, he acted as his own sports information director. I love that story about Mike Leach. Anyway, so you just continue thoughts and prayers for the Leach family on the loss of Mike Leach, 61 years old. Transition this back over to Tennessee. It was a busy news day on Monday. Came out Monday morning that Darnell Wright has accepted his invitation to the Reese's Senior Bowl. Of course, what that means is if he plays in that showcase, he is off to the NFL. Later on that day, Cedric Tillman, as expected, announced he is opting out of the Orange Bowl to focus on preparations for the NFL Draft. At the time of this recording, we have not heard an announcement from Jalen Hyatt. That could very well happen 5 minutes when we're done. But again, as I've said, I expect him to go to the NFL and to not play in the Orange Bowl. I feel like he's got so much to lose if he were to do that. We'll see what his decision is, but overall, it's moving day. It's moving week essentially for some Tennessee personnel and preparations for next football season, and of course the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, good for those guys. My thought with Darnell Wright has been if he comes back for another year, that would be tremendous for Tennessee to have him. But my expectation was that he would go, and getting a Senior Bowl invite has to have helped with that decision. And Eric, I think that Tennessee can benefit in some way in recruiting, because I think one of the challenges that this staff faces is negative recruiting on preparation for the NFL. And with Cade Mays having been drafted in the 6th round, not an incredibly high pick, but if you have back-to-back years of draft picks, and if Darnell can be drafted higher, significantly higher potentially than Cade, that can help Tennessee's recruiting effort, because pitching, hey, we're going to put up a lot of points and we're going to win games and we might compete for championships, that absolutely is a positive for Tennessee, and I think that's going to continue to help grow. But recruits want to hear that they can get to the NFL, and offensive linemen want to hear that you're going to be developed for the next level. And if Tennessee has results in Knoxville against SEC competition, to pitch to recruits, hey, if you come here, we can help develop you like Cade or like Darnell Wright. And we'll see if other guys get opportunities too here in the next couple of years. But the more you can sell the NFL, the more success you're going to have in recruiting, I think. So that can still be a positive for Tennessee. He is a tremendous loss to have to replace along the offensive line, and we'll see how that happens. Jalen Hyatt, I think there's a lot of confidence that if he goes, as you and I both assume or predict, that they'll be fine there. But he is a guy that won the Biletnikoff Award. Yeah. Tillman's a little different in that it feels like they've replaced him already, right? Because he didn't play so much of the season. So I would have, in his position, made the same decision. Go ahead and make sure you're healthy. It was not a good year for him from an injury standpoint. So go ahead and get ready for the draft to make sure you are as well prepared, and he should be, to run the best time that he can, because I doubt that he's going to go run a blazing time like Jalen Hyatt will have a chance to run. So as healthy as you can and as good of a time as you can post should help the draft stock for Cedric Tillman. Again, 2 guys going in the NFL at receiver is something that Tennessee can pitch to recruits too.
Josh, last thing, it's crossover season, Tennessee basketball. Boy, they tried to give it away. It was a horrible day offensively. It was a really good day defensively in the first half. Second half tried to give it away, but nonetheless, critical 3-pointers down the stretch from a trio of Volunteers, just enough to get by number 13 Maryland at the Hall of Fame Classic in the Barclays Center, 56-53. Wasn't pretty again. Tennessee shorthanded again, but this might be a win you look back on that looks pretty impressive down the line.
Yeah, ugly basketball games are common in college in the months of November and December, and you can say any month out of the season, but especially non-conference and these neutral sites where it's not the most comfortable setting for teams that are still trying to find their way. And Tennessee is trying to find its way from a personnel standpoint, because in this particular game, you don't have Josiah Jordan-James again, and then all of a sudden Jonas Aidoo can't play because of his health, so you have different guys in the lineup. Offense is something to figure out as the season goes along. Remember last year, Tennessee started out looking good defensively, not looking good offensively, and then they figured things out along the way. They don't have Kennedy Chandler to help with that, but there's still a lot of talent. Julian Phillips would be one of the newer additions that should help with that. But, Eric, they won the game. The defense is holding up. This is an elite defense, I think, what we're seeing right now, and has a chance to be maybe the best in the country as the season goes along. That's where Tennessee ranks right now if you look at the adjusted defensive numbers. So Tennessee is off to a terrific start. Now, there can be some clunker games offensively, and you can lose those. And look at the Michigan game, the way Tennessee shot in the NCAA tournament. So I recognize all that. There's the health question with Josiah that may just linger all season long.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall, you love to get a win there. It can help with the resume. Arizona is a huge game coming up. Win or lose, that's going to help Tennessee's resume playing that game in Tucson. And then let's see if Tennessee improves all season long. But the defense is going to give Tennessee a chance to rank very high all year long, and will give Tennessee a chance, if the offense does improve, to go win an SEC regular season championship and then compete again in the postseason.
Josh Ward, he's at Josh_Ward on Twitter. He's on the radio, 99.1 The Sports Animal, co-host of Josh and Swain from noon to 3 every single weekday. What's coming up on the show as the week goes on?
Yeah, a lot of football breakdown, some toward the bowl game, but a lot of it's big picture right now, looking ahead and monitoring the decisions of Tennessee players as you are doing on this show, and good perspective from Swain on that as Tennessee transitions already into 2023, plus Portal Watch, it never stops. So covering it all on Josh and Swain from 12 to 3.
Josh Ward, appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, that's Josh Ward for Little Ward Wednesday, every single Wednesday right here on Locked On Vols. Ron Slay talking a little Tennessee basketball. That's coming up next right here on the show. BetOnline.net, your number one source for your sports betting, information, stats, news, and analysis. Get all the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball to the World Cup. They've got it all over at betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts as well, like the one you're listening to right here with Locked On Vols, they've got them at betonline.net too. You can check those out after you listen to Locked On Vols, of course. It's the easiest, it's the fastest, and the best way to get all your sporting information. Tennessee right now, it's an underdog. So that line opened up as a 4.5-point underdog for Tennessee against Clemson, the Orange Bowl. Of course, that line's going to change depending on who's playing for Tennessee, who's playing for Clemson, and it'll continue to change all the way up to December the 30th. You can track it all at betonline.net. Head on over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn about all the latest trends and all the action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. All right, guys, it's December. It's time to put on the call hearts here. It's getting a little chilly. It's not snowing just yet, but there have been sights of some snow in upper parts of the valley and throughout the region. So with that being said, I think it's time for the first sleigh ride of the season by bringing on VFL, our good buddy Ron Slay, to the podcast. He is the co-host of 3HL on 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. Ron, what's up, man?
Man, what's up, E? How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Again, I said this before we came on, but I'm going to say it again. I mean, you look at your setup here. Everybody can see it on YouTube. You got your microphone, a home office. You have come a long way. You look like a radio podcast professional now.
Hey, man, listen, one of my biggest assets, my greatest assets, man, is being able to adapt. You know what I mean? Going through a coaching change at UT to going overseas and playing 14 years, whatever it is, man, I'm going to adapt. So here I am, man. I'm ready to roll.
Looking good. And I wouldn't characterize Tennessee as quote looking good the other night, but hey, it's a good win, right? Maryland in that Hall of Fame tip-off classic. Maryland's a good ball club so far this season, and I think it's going to be a pretty good team. We'll see how it finishes the year, but I think this 3-point win against number 13 Maryland is one that Tennessee can look back on in March, whenever we're talking about is it going to be a 3-line, 2-line, whatever it is, and say, well, that was a quality win back in December, and again, when Tennessee was shorthanded.
Yeah, without question. Like you want to see this team go and compete against different styles, and I think you got to see that. You see an up and down style when you're playing a team like Gonzaga, and then what you hear from Michigan State with it being a physical team, and then playing at a neutral site against a team like Colorado and getting shocked, having a wake up call with that. Then leading into a game like Maryland. After that Colorado game, you wanted to see this team really lock in and buy into what their identity is. And I think we found that with defense. So this Maryland game, back and forth game, ugly game. But one thing that stood out to me was guys didn't stop shooting, even though they were missing. I think that's a lot of problems with this team moving forward later in the season. They start missing those shots in games and they'll stop shooting. They'll start passing it around, trying to get it to other guys, maybe get a better shot or something. But these guys still had confidence. And then they didn't let that dictate the game. You saw guys like Julian Phillips still go get 10 rebounds. Tyreek Key hit big shots. Zakai come in and still living up to the names he's created, not being afraid of that moment. Meshack taking that next step. So, like you said, still being shorthanded without Josiah and Vescovi not being fully healthy, but still going out there and giving it a go. You got to love where this team's headed.
Man, you played basketball for a long time. You dealt with injuries. You played through injuries. I'm not a doctor. There's been no official statement out there, but I mean, Josiah's going through it right now. He's missed 4 of the last 10 games or whatever, the first 10 games, and it kind of seems like it's just going to be a game by game thing. He'll play, he'll sit, he'll play, he'll sit.
Yeah.
I mean, how difficult? Put to aside the fact that he's a senior, he wants to be out there, but how difficult is that just trying to manage throughout a season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being able to try to get that rhythm, get that rhythm and that feel. You always want to have, if not even the game, but those practices that lead up to the game where you can kind of test it out. And I remember coming back from the ACL and also the meniscus, also the stress fracture. Like I've had moments in my career when I was playing at Tennessee where I had to kind of, Chad Newman did a great job of managing it and, minute wise in practice and then in the game. Also, getting me to understand you got to listen to your body. So I think Josiah's doing a terrific job with that with Chad and Big G and those guys and listening to his body. But you miss out on being out there with your guys, your brothers that you battled with. I think we saw a lot of that with Olivier going down the stretch last year in the tournament. He really wanted to be out there. It's just something, man, that, guys that you battle with, especially when you can have an impact and not necessarily scoring, but just the camaraderie, after a foul, you bringing everybody together and being in that huddle, just you and the other 4 and telling each other what we got to do and going out and carrying it out. That's the biggest part that I think that he'll miss. The other part, talent-wise, the game, making shots, whatever it is, like his instinct will kick in when he gets out there. But you always want to have that rhythm so you can be shining in those bright lights.
In typical Rick Barnes fashion, post-game ask about freshman Toby Owaka. Said, hey, if I was those other guys, I'd be nervous. I mean, hey, what did you like about Toby Owaka's play the other night? He came on, had a great first half, gave Tennessee 17 minutes. Tennessee doesn't win that game without Toby's play, and I think that was big for the true freshman with Tennessee, of course, without Jonas Adu and, Josiah Jordan-James.
Yeah, I think, man, it's huge for Toby. Confidence-wise, building to know that the coach will put him out there and let him stay out there. And then when you're not supposed to listen to the headlines and the media and everything, but when you go hear that your number's being called and guys better watch out, it gives you another little boost. You go into practice, go a little bit harder, let you know that it's a pat on the back, let you know you're doing the right thing. So Toby, man, is a guy, man, that's a workhorse, a rebound machine, can guard multiple positions, not yet that scoring threat that I think he will become just because he worked so hard. But right now you need another spark outside of a guy like Zakai. Like you always want to have as a team, a guy that's a guard that can come and give you a spark and a guy that's a big that can come and give you a spark. We got that last year where they do. Now you're starting to get that with Toby. If you can get that and keep feeding that beast, it could be a problem for teams going forward because you go from 7 to 8 deep to 8, 9, 10 deep. And that makes it, that bodes well.
What do you like about Julian Phillips so far this year? I mean, I think he had a bad night offensively, but I mean that's going to happen, right? But you said it right there. You don't let that affect you. Go grab 10 boards. He's been as good as advertised so far this year.
Yeah, I think that's a credit to guys giving him confidence. Guys like Josiah that's been sitting out. The coaches, man, he got a great coaching staff around. Coach Rod, Coach Gainey, everybody involved, feeding these young men, man, to go out there and go play. And play free, just do what we ask you to do. And then everything else you can add in as you go. You can ad lib as you go. So I'm really impressed with him, the leash that he's created, if you will, like just being able to go out there and make mistakes and play through the mistakes, being able to answer the bell when Coach Barnes and them scold them and then listen to it, go back out there, get at it again and be able to transfer everything that they're telling them in practice and in the games and in timeouts. And putting it out there on the floor. I think that's the most impressive thing, man. Him being able to take that next step. We saw it with Keon and Jaden Springer and guys like that, and we wanted them to take that step. I think he's taking it a little bit quicker than him, and I think a lot of that is because Josiah's been out, so he's taking advantage of it. He's taking advantage, and I love to see it.
It's good to see Tennessee, playing well in the Bahamas and, winning against some quality competition like Maryland. Shorthanded and everything, but with Josiah out and then Vescovy out and then Adu out, and it's kind of just been who's available, let's throw them in. Has that kind of stunted the growth or the acceleration of this team in terms of trying to figure out who does what, your roles here? Has that kind of stunted the growth of this team so far?
I think it could if you let that be a crutch for you. I think
Yeah.
one thing they do a great job in this the whole program as far as we're not using excuses. They don't use excuses or whoever's up. Man, you were recruited here for a reason. Like you can play here. So when you get your opportunity, go do it. And if you don't, you go back to the bench and you have to sit and wait and watch. You know what I mean? And don't nobody want to do that. So you see guys like Meshack being thrust out there and making it happen. Julian Phillips getting more run. Zakai in another role, back to his coming off the bench role, but at the same time having a different type of responsibility as far as leading the team. And Vescovy and all those guys, everybody else, the usual suspects, as I like to call them, still doing their thing. But I just think, man, the way they're built, they're a mirror image of the Coach Barnes and the rest of the staff, and they don't accept excuses. So for you to go back and tell them, man, they come back in the press conference and, man, we would have won, man, if we would have had Vescovy, if he would have played, or Josiah would have played. Man, they didn't use that excuse. And Josiah wouldn't, and Vescovy wouldn't let them use that excuse either. One man down, well, guess what? Somebody got an opportunity to get out here and do something. You want that chance as a player.
No midweek game this week as finals are taking place, but hey, a big one coming up on Saturday at number 10, Arizona. What do you know about Arizona so far, and what should Tennessee kind of expect in the first true road game of the season?
I mean, I honestly think healthy, Arizona is one of the best teams in college basketball. You look at them from top to bottom, from the point guard, you got a veteran point guard who can make big shots. If you slack off, but he's willing to get everybody in the floor of the game, in where they're supposed to be. Great job of getting passes to the bigs, setting it up for guys on the wing to knock shots down. The coach has done a tremendous job of recruiting, kind of brought that European flavor over to Arizona, and it's looking good. They're not your traditional team as far as guys now playing 4 round 1 and things of that nature. They can actually put 2 guys on the block, 6'10" and 7 foot, and give them the ball and go to work. And then they got the big guy, the forward. I forgot his name, the lefty, the power forward. He can step out, man, and put the ball on the floor, knock the shot down. And then they got 2 7-footers sitting on the bench that really, they don't even get to play that much because of the starters. But man, it's you got to be well disciplined and stick to your principles when you're playing Arizona. You got to be able to get back, have balance on rebounding, on defensive balance with a guy getting back. Make sure you're on top of that, because they will run given the opportunity. And then you're going to be playing at Arizona, one of the greatest venues in college basketball. So it's going to have that little small town feel, packed gyms. So it's going to be hot and rocking coming off the weekend. But it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But I do think Tennessee, if you can stay out of foul trouble, keep Euros in the game, they do healthy, and the guards playing the way they are, it's going to be a battle, man. It's going to be a big-time battle.
VFL Ron Slay, he is at the Ron Slay on Twitter, co-host of 3HL 1045 The Zone. Ron, you're everywhere, man. You're in Philly covering the Army-Navy game. You're, media row for the Super Bowl. You're here, you're there. How much fun you having?
Hey, man, I'm having a ball doing this. Like I always wanted to stay close to the game, and this allows me to tap into that feeling in my heart, man, where basketball lies. I mean, where football lies. I get to touch that and pique my interest in that. Then I also get to come back to where it's in my soul, basketball. So I'm being all over the place. I love it.
Are you still calling some basketball for, was it Tennessee State?
Yeah, still doing some games for the home games for Tennessee State, having a ball doing that, getting my feet wet. So hopefully we see me elevating to another level somewhere.
Hey, looking forward to hearing you pinch hit again for Burt potentially on the Ball Radio Network this year. I know that was a whole lot of fun.
Oh, that was a ball.
Ron, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much as always, and we'll talk to you again as basketball season continues.
Appreciate it, E, man. Y'all take care. Go Vols.
As VFL Ron Slay, who he will never forget, but he got his first starts at 99.1 The Sports Animal. Tyler Ivins, Heather Harrington, and a young Eric Kane. He used to walk down, let him in that door at 6:30 every Tuesday for the 7 o'clock sleigh ride. Oh, yeah, I remember. He remembers. Ron always gracious with his time back then and still is to this day. So one of my favorite people, one of my favorite former Vols, but again, just one of my favorite people to talk to. Call him up anytime. He's there to answer, and I really, really do appreciate him. All right, appreciate you guys as well. This has been a fun show. Wednesday show's in the books. We caught up with Josh Ward, had 2 guests on, Josh, and of course Ron Slay, talked a little hoops, did all that and more, talked football. And we'll continue on this week right here on Locked On Vols. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. For your next listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reaction, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available on the Odyssey app, on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Guys, thank you so much. Hey, 6K by December 25th. 6K by Christmas. That is the goal. I see some of you guys have been jumping in those comments and encouraging that. Thank you so much. Pound that like button, that heart, that thumbs up. That all helps the algorithms out there, and we can get more people to subscribe to the YouTube show. And, of course, wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Odyssey, Spotify, hit that download, subscribe button as well. Thank you as always, guys. Same time, same place. We'll do it again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.